Hey fellow rackheads, my name's Dirk, and I like to hack on VCV Rack. Just wanted to share a few ideas with you. First of all, I've been experimenting with the current release, r4xH4xDox, and I tend to throw my stuff up into GitHub so everybody can take a look. Here I am. And I've been experimenting both inside Rack. I've got a fork with a few interesting features. I've got a command line interface that I'm working towards, some cloud services, and a plugin module. And I'll get to those in detail in future talks. But for now, I just wanted to show you an example. So here we go. I'm going to start a terminal session. And got a convenience script that puts me into VCV Rack, my build directory. I've got a fork so I can build my own modules or build third-party modules that I just have source for. So I want to start up Rack, and who knows what's going to pop up next. Yeah, this is just my default, so when I create a new project, this is what my template looks like. I'm going to go back to the shell, and I'm going to create another window, and I'm going to run my IPython notebook because that's where I tend to do most of my hacking before I push it into something more production oriented. And here's what it looks like. It gives you kind of a folder interface. You can edit your code through the browser. And I've got a folder for my Rack stuff, and just wanted to open up my current work project. So what's cool about this is you can combine documentation. Here's markup combined with Python source code. And I'll go through these in detail in a future video. But it's neat. You can set focus to one of the code cells and execute that cell by hitting Control Return. You can execute the whole page worth if you'd like. And what this is doing is taking advantage of some metadata that I've generated, and again, I've got infrastructure to do that you guys can take advantage of if you're interested. But one of the interesting use cases is generating from this contents patches with all your plugin modules. So that's what this does. I call it docs for documentation. And the way I've set it up, it's a little nerdy. What I basically do is create a series of patches with everything I've got installed in my Rack instance. And I do it in chunks because if I have over 100 plugins installed. If I try to create a patch with all those modules, it crashes based on my notebook. So I just do them in chunks. And I've got a little delay in here. I pause just to look at it. And it's cool. I've hooked up MIDI to Rack. And so my Python code here generates the page and triggers a refresh. So what I can do is I can run my docs function here, and it will generate documentation for me. And notice that I put it in a patch file called docs. So I need to go back to Rack and open that document. And notice here I have a reopen. That's the revert function on the normal version of Rack. I'm going to open my docs file. And this just shows an arbitrary patch that I had shown before. It's actually the last in the series that it will generate here. And what file reopen does is it just reopens the same patch by name, docs, in this particular case. And if behind the scenes I change the contents of that patch, it will just appear to be refreshing something new every time, but it's still the same patch, it's just changing in the background. So let's go ahead and run the docs function. And now I can go back to Rack, and we'll see that it iterates through. And I've got it oriented so that it only fills up a page width. I could make one plugin per row, but I've chosen to wrap it in the case where I have a particular plugin with lots of modules. As you can see here, this wraps. And I'm not having to do anything. It's just manually, or automatically, scrolling through my patch list, reflecting everything I've got in my catalog at present. Now the good news is this generator is just generating a patch and it's loading it. So my hacking is kind of separate. I say that because on occasion I'll install pretty raw third-party plugins, very experimental ones that aren't in the plugin manager yet. And sometimes those will crash Rack. If I just create a generic patch and drop those third-party plugins, there's a chance it might crash Rack. If that happens here, I just restart it and continue. If I didn't want that to happen and I wanted to get through the whole series, all I'd have to do is remove those from my plugins folder, those offending plugins. So it's kind of cool. I can just sit here and scroll through the patches and I see them all live. You might be able to hear the fan kicking in. Some of these patches are pretty large. There's an argument for the docs function that allows you to reduce the number or the complexity of the patch by saying I don't want as many plugins displayed or integrated in the patch at a single time. And that happens to be the last patch in the series. So thanks for watching, and let me know if you'd like to walk through any of the detail. I'll be posting the hacking code here, this IPython notebook. As you can see, it's only a 15 or 20 lines of code that does the interesting work here. So it's pretty straightforward. So thanks for watching.